Daniel Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on the 2021 College Football Playoff semifinal matchup between the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Cincinnati Bearcats. Huge matchup for both these teams here in the College Football Playoff semifinal. Alabama just beat Georgia in the SEC title game. They are SEC champions once again, and Alabama is back in the College Football Playoff this time with their Heisman-winning quarterback Bryce Young. And they're facing off against Cincinnati. The Bearcats have had a phenomenal season, 13-0, just won their conference championship. And Cincinnati's got an opportunity at a national title now. They're the first Group of 5 team to make it into the College Football Playoff, and here they are. They beat Alabama. They're in the national title. This is a huge opportunity for them and their program. So lots at stake here. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today, starting out with your team trends. Alabama beat Georgia, number 1 team in the nation, 41-24. Just a phenomenal win. Georgia, of course, being the most dominant team in the nation all season long, and Alabama went in and got the win there, 41-24, and they're here seated as number 1 in the College Football Playoff once again. 12-1 is their record, 7-game winning streak heading into this matchup. And of course, if you remember, their one loss of the season was back to Texas A&M back in the middle of the regular season, but otherwise, this has been a dominant football team. Cincinnati beat Houston in the American Athletic Championship game. 35-20 was a final score there, so great win for Cincinnati over a quality opponent there in Houston. But I mean, it is obvious Alabama's strength of schedule and their resume is much stronger than Cincinnati's, but the Bearcats have been dominant in the American Athletic this season, so that's how they got into this number 4 position. And plus, they're the only undefeated team in the nation right now at 13-0, 13-game winning streak heading into this matchup here. Game will be on Friday, December 31st, New Year's Eve, Arlington, Texas. And your kickoff time is 3:30 p.m. Eastern time here. Spread's going with Alabama by 13.5 points. So Alabama is significantly favored in this matchup. Not too surprising seeing that concerning the Crimson Tide. I mean, their resume is stronger. Plus, they've got Bryce Young. You can never go against Bryce Young. And also Nick Saban. I mean, their head coach is, led this football team to however many national titles. I mean, it just keeps going on. I mean, Alabama is the dynasty in college football. So, I mean, you can't go against them really. And so the spread, it makes sense why the Crimson Tide are favored by 13.5 points here. Over-under is 58, and your FPI is going with Alabama as well. 71.7% is where the FPI is going right now. Series history, Alabama leads at 5-0, but it has been a long time since we saw these two teams play each other. It's been a couple of decades. The last game was in 1990, and Alabama has won all 5 matchups since. Here's your stat comparison. Alabama 42 points per game, 20 points allowed. 347 passers game, 147 rush yards, and then for yards allowed, you got 223 passing, 82 for rushing. So kind of dissecting this here for Alabama, you got almost 350 average passers a game, which is heavy in part to Bryce Young. He has been phenomenal this football season, to say the least. I mean, 4,300 total yards on the season is what he's got right now, with 43 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions, which is insane out of a first-year starter in Bryce Young. I mean, he's got a very, very bright future. This is his first year starting in college football, and his stats have been some of the best that I've ever seen. So yeah, Bryce Young, he has been insanely good, and he's just insanely talented, to say the least. For Cincinnati, 39 points per game, 16 points allowed, 248 pass yards a game, 179 rush yards, and then for yards allowed, you got 168 passing, 137 for rushing. So defensively, pass defense has been good for Cincinnati this football season statistically, which is going to be huge in this game, going up against one of the best pass offenses in the country here with Alabama and Bryce Young, and you got several great receivers to go with it. So for Cincinnati here, you got a phenomenal pass defense, but that's going to have to play lights out in this game. You're going to have to force a couple turnovers. That's going to be huge in this game, is the turnover margin for Cincinnati, because, you got to keep that momentum. You got to really, you got to get the ball out of Bryce Young's hands as much as you can if you want any chance of winning this game. Alabama is too talented of a football team to let them have the ball for over half the game. So for Cincinnati, winning time of possession and then also winning the turnover margin is going to be huge for the Bearcats here. But offensively, they've been good this season. Desmond Ridder, you got Jerome Ford as well. Don't forget about him. He is a huge impact player for this offense at the rushing position. Over 1,200 yards of rushing, 19 touchdowns. And even Desmond Ridder, over 3,100 yards, 30 touchdowns, 8 picks. He's had a great season as well. Some recent matchups. Alabama beat Georgia 41-24. Beat Auburn in 4 overtimes. That was an insane game there in the Iron Bowl. Also beat Arkansas, their number 21 team in the nation at the time, 42-35. Beat New Mexico State 59-3, and also beat LSU 20-14. As for the Bearcats, beat Houston 35-20, beat East Carolina 35-13, beat SMU 48-14. That was a quality win. SMU is a pretty good football team, so Yeah, definitely an impressive win there. Also beat South Florida 45-28, and also beat Tulsa 28-20 was the final score there. So otherwise for Cincinnati, I mean, this team did beat Notre Dame back a few weeks ago. Well, actually, that was back in early October when they beat them 24-13, which was, I think that's the one win that's kept them in the college football playoff conversation for the committee. I mean, they beat UCF and they beat Indiana back in September as well. I mean, Indiana was actually expected to be a pretty good football team this season, so it's kind of surprising to see that Indiana turned out to be 2-10 in this 2021 season. But I mean, overall, I mean, that Notre Dame win I think was huge, and that's a big reason why Cincinnati is in the number 4 position in the college football playoff here today. Here's some key points. Alabama 12-1. Bryce Young just won the Heisman. I mean, he's just one extremely talented player on this football team. There's so many others. I mean, it's not just him. It's this entire team that has got them to this point. But offensively, they've been brutal to stop. Extremely high-powered offense here. I mean, you got several phenomenal players. Jamison Williams, of course, lead receiver, over 1,400 yards of receiving on the season. Robinson, lead back, Brian Robinson has had an outstanding season as well. Over 1,000 yards of rushing, 14 touchdowns. So, I mean, they've been tough to stop offensively, especially, but they've played well in big games, and they've only improved as well over the course of this season. I mean, this team has only gotten better since that loss to Texas A&M. I know this team has only gotten better ever since then, and you saw they played against Georgia. I mean, this team with Nick Saban in the postseason is tough to beat, so we'll see. I mean, this is Alabama, always in the college football playoff. I mean, they're a tough out, that is for sure. But for Cincinnati, 13-0, have a talented, high-powered offense. They have been dominant in conference play, and forcing turnovers will be crucial in this game for the Bearcats. If you can force a couple of interceptions, kind of throw Bryce Young off of his game, that would be huge for Cincinnati. I mean, Bryce Young, this is still his, I mean, he doesn't have any experience in the college football playoff. So, I mean, Cincinnati could use that to their advantage, potentially forcing a couple of turnovers. That, once again, that's going to be huge for this football team, is getting the ball out of Bryce Young's hands, making sure that they can get some points up on the board off of turnovers will be big as well. But that's it. Let's get to the prediction here for Alabama and Cincinnati. College football playoff semifinal game. I'm going to go Crimson Tide here. 38-27 is my predicted final score. And I just feel like can't go against Bryce Young and Nick Saban and this football team right now, especially the way they play against Georgia. I mean, if they play that same way in this game, I mean, this game probably won't be close. But I do expect Cincinnati to put up a fight in this game. They're going to keep it close for a long time. I think Cincinnati gives themselves a chance. But I think Alabama in the end pulls away a bit in the fourth quarter, and they get the win 38-27. But I do expect Cincinnati, if it's a 13.5-point spread, I do think Cincinnati does cover that. I think Cincinnati keeps it closer than expected. A lot of experts are expecting blowout. Alabama just wins by like 2 to 3 touchdowns, but I don't expect that. I think Alabama and Cincinnati will be a close game. Bearcats keep it close for a long time, but in the end, Bryce Young, this offense, and Nick Saban, they'll proceed on to yet another national title. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this game, and I appreciate you guys all watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you later.